There's been a lot of Dance Moms talk recently with the reunion just having been filmed, and since the girls were getting back together, some of them decided to talk a little further about what went down during the filming and also about their time on the show in general. Jojo Siwa just recently launched a podcast of her own, and she had Kalani on to talk about the reunion and much more. The two of them said they were surprised how deep things got on the reunion and that it wasn't all just chill fun that they were having on set. They said they were actually talking a lot about some pretty serious stuff, and it turned into like a therapy session for them to really unpack what happened during their time on Dance Moms all those years ago.
We, in the last 3 days, have gone down so many memory lanes with this Dance Moms reunion. I think the world is going to be very interested. I, as a Dance Moms fan, was interested in what it was like. It was not what I expected it to be, but it was.
All. I feel like we talked about a lot of things and we got really deep with a lot of things.
It felt super deep. Everything felt super, super deep.
It was a big therapy session.
Literally.
And I really didn't think it was going to be like that.
No. I thought it was going to be like lighthearted, but it was like, but it felt good. Like it didn't feel negative. It didn't feel like anyone was like having to like relive the past. It was more like we were getting to clarify things that may have not been clarified when we were kids.
Jojo and Kalani also talked about how they really leaned on each other during the taping of the reunion, and that people will probably be surprised to see what was discussed in the reunion. And this was kind of their time to shine, whereas the show was a lot about their moms expressing their feelings about the dance company and Abby and each other always fighting, but this was their time.
We talked about some of those. We talked about a lot of things that you will be shocked to hear on the show. It got really deep, and I think a lot too, we've never, as like the kids, we didn't speak that much on the show or get to kind of talk to each other.
Kalani got her moment to talk. She got her moment now.
I was talking. I never really talk, and you know me, I just like am a very like anxious person. I don't like to make anybody upset.
Yeah.
And so I never really get to talk, but I feel like
you really got to go in.
Yeah, and say how I felt for the first time.
It was good.
Yeah, it was really good. And Jojo really stood by my side through a lot of it. We sat by each other the whole time.
Thank God Kalani and I sat by each other. At first we weren't, and I was like, absolutely not. Put the chairs by each other.
We were like, put the chairs right there. They're like, you're together.
Yeah,
we're like, okay, we're good to go.
Me and Kalani, we started feeling each other's heartbeats. It was more so for Kalani.
It's for me because I'm such an anxious person. I'm like, what's my heart rate?
Yeah, and we were tracking her heart rate, and
it was fine.
And then I made her feel mine, and then she followed mine, and we were good. We were good at each other.
Honestly, a surprise that the producers of the reunion wanted to actually talk about the hard times of the show, because I feel like Lifetime wouldn't want to look bad airing this on their own network. But I guess after all this time and the girls having spoke out about it so much over the years, they may have felt like they had to acknowledge it at least a little. And Kalani ended up opening up to Jojo about the fact that she suffered from anxiety following the end of Dance Moms.
So once I got off the show, I just was going through anxiety and panic attacks, and I was living by myself, and I was living in LA alone, and COVID was happening, and there were so many new things that I really wanted to be a mental health advocate to people.
And this isn't the first time we're hearing about this. This is something a lot of the girls who were on the show have opened up about as something that they struggled with following Dance Moms. When Maddie opened up about her experience, both on and off the show, she talked about struggling with panic attacks as a result of things from the past, and her mom having to apologize to her for putting her through the show and it leading her to feel this way.
Last year, my mom, I was having a really bad panic attack, and I called my mom, and things were coming up from the past, and she apologized to me, and she was like, I'm so sorry that I put you through that. And it's so sad because it's like, she would never want to hurt us.
Of course.
But none of us knew how crazy it would get.
And when Kenzie recently sat down and talked about Dance Moms on Taylor Lautner's podcast with his wife, Taylor Lautner, she also talked about the struggles with anxiety that she had, and it's stemming from the show.
I think it did stem from the show.
Okay.
Absolutely. Just being so stressed all the time that I wasn't good enough, or I had to be better than my sister was like the main topic of the show.
Yeah.
And if I messed up, that was like the end of the world. So I really think a lot of, even like all of the cast members, like we all kind of deal with that type of anxiety and mental health things, and Yeah, it's all from the show.
So with all of this coming out about the show and the effects it had on the girls, it was only right that things were acknowledged in the reunion. And as much as some of the girls like Jojo and Kalani have said that the reunion was a form of closure for them and a way to heal from all that happened back in the day, as we know, not everyone was at the reunion. We've talked about Kenzie addressing the fact that her and Maddie were not there for the filming, and it was because they didn't want to go back and revisit the past, feeling like they had moved on from that part of their life, and they just don't want to go back down memory lane. But Nia was also missing from the photos of the reunion filming, and so was Chloe's mom, Christy. And since people have been asking for a more confirmed list of who was there and who wasn't, Jojo ended up spilling who was actually there and who wasn't, even though she said that they were not supposed to be telling anyone any of this.
For the last 3 days, Kalani and I have been filming. We're doing a Dance Moms reunion. Lifetime is doing a Dance Moms reunion of all original producers. And the cast is me, Kalani, Paige, Brooke, Chloe, Kendall, and then a few of our moms. Christy wasn't able to make it, but she really wanted to be a part of it. She FaceTimed in a lot. Then Kelly, Jill, Kira, Kalani's mom, and my mom, Jess, are all a part of the reunion. I mean, I'll be straight up and honest. They asked us to not talk about which cast is doing it or which cast isn't doing it. But I feel like it's just been so obvious on social media who is and who isn't.
It's very obvious. We posted a photo the day that we were there of all the people that were there. So it's like, who's gonna be there.
Yeah. So I think that is just kind of like, you know what? Like, it's all right. We'll put out there who's there, but
Jojo and Kalani also talked about how people talk about the show being scripted and said that for them, it was really real. And that's the thing that gets talked about the most when we're talking about Dance Moms is whether or not things are real or not. And the thing is, for the girls, whenever they've come out to talk about the show, the reason why it's such an intense experience for them all is because they were so authentically themselves in experiencing and reacting to everything naturally, because a child doesn't really know what reality television is. They thought that all of the fights that their moms were getting into were real and everything happening around them was real, when in reality, they were being produced and the moms would fight because they were provoked by producers and drama would get started by them. And also the moms have come out to say that they knew they needed to fight in order to kind of wrap up the day, like get the shot and go home. But for the girls, they were so themselves and also so young that they didn't really understand what was going on. But I also think that's why everyone liked them so much, because they were so genuine. And Jojo and Kalani talked about how real it really was for them and things not being scripted like a lot of people might believe.
We were just like actually there competing every single week and cameras were following us. Like,
that's literally all it was.
It was never like we were doing that for the show. It was like, even if the cameras were to cut, like I feel like we still would have been doing that. Like,
no, literally
crazy to
we
think
were
about.
just so much. We were so ourselves.
Yeah.
I feel as the girls,
and it was so real.
It couldn't. I don't know why people always are like, it's scripted.
I'm like,
it's
literally
not
how?
scripted.
Literally how? You can't even write the stuff that happens.
No,
like, empty chair, do a solo. No one would have thought of that.
It's literally
no one
like the things that people say are real.
Get your finger out of my face, girls out the room, girls. That would have never.
Real.
A writer's not that smart to think of that.
No,
like, it just can't happen.
I mean, people need to know that every show has somewhat of a
production and producers,
because
for sure.
You can't just throw people in a room and be like, okay,
make TV.
Yeah, no, there has to be, or if somebody hears something, be like, okay, bring that back up again.
And
but
the thing
it's not
with Dance Moms
scripted.
too is that, it's not scripted. They would have their week lined up. Every reality show has their week lined up. But I will say Dance Moms is really good at just going with it.
Jojo and Kalani also talked about the fact that some people like to judge them based on their personalities from the show when they were literally just kids, but some people still associate it to them back in the day when they don't think that's fair.
People forget that it was like actually our childhood too, though.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget that it's like, imagine what you went through in your childhood.
Yep.
We were just kids and it was just put on TV.
Yep. Public for the world.
And I think it's so funny when people like pin us against each other, like so-and-so is so mean. You have to remember we were literally children.
Literally 12. Like babies.
Yeah, I'm like, think about what your childhood was like. That's what ours was. Just
so public.
Yeah.
There's clearly just so much that happened on this show, and the girls have obviously changed a lot since they were filming, and I honestly can't wait to see what was discussed in the reunion, since even the girls were surprised by what was talked about. It's expected to come out sometime next year, but no specific date has been announced as of right now. I'll let you guys know if any more information comes out, but until then, I want to know what you guys think was talked about and what you thought about what these two had to say about their time on the show. Obviously, it's a little different than some of the others, as they do have a good relationship with Abby still, but that doesn't mean it wasn't without its hard times, as they've discussed. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.